guys, welcome back to my channel, or welcome if you are new. Today I have a book unhaul to show you, some of my favourite videos to watch and also to film. I recently got rid of so many books. There's also a lot more than these, I'm not gonna lie, but I already am selling them on Vinted. My Vinted's down below, so a lot of them have already gone, to be honest. So these are what I have left to show you, and there's like 25 something or other on this list, at least 25 to show you today that I'm getting rid of, and a lot of them are special editions, which is crazy. So yeah, I'm going to show those to you today, and you can let me know if you think I made the right decision or the wrong decision down below. But yes, let's get straight into it. Grab your coffee. The first book that I'm getting rid of is The Mad Women's Ball by Victoria Mass. I really like this book. I think I keep this at 5 stars. This is not a lack of enjoyment that I'm getting rid of this book. It's simply the fact I don't think I'm going to reread it. It's set in the 1800s in Paris at a mental hospital where we follow a nurse who encounters a 19-year-old patient as she's put there by her family, and it kind of changes her perspective on things in the world. As I'm sure you can imagine, this is a very feminist novel. There's a lot of misogynistic elements to this novel, being in the 1800s, set in a mental hospital. As you can imagine, a lot of these women are completely psychologically fine. Simply, they just have abusive or cheating husbands. So this is a very good book. It's also translated from French, and I absolutely love it. I just don't think this is ever going to be one I'm going to reread, and I'm changing my bookshelves this year. My bookshelves, as you can see, are very empty. I did tell you I've gotten rid of a lot of books. We're changing the theme of this year. We're only having books on there that I know I'm going to reread. We are only buying TBR books that fit my current mood, even if I think one day I'll read them. That's why I've gotten rid of so many. So this one is going to go, even though I fully recommend it. I would love to get this in the hands of someone else to read because I never hear about it, and it's amazing. The next book that I have here is All the Lovers in the Night by Mieko Kawakami. I really enjoyed this book. I think I gave it a 3.5, maybe I'm a little bit off on that. But I really enjoyed this book. It's about a writer in her 30s who feels like she's kind of going nowhere in life. She's not really doing anything, and she just kind of spends most of her days at home, and we just follow her life, really. It's a Japanese translated novel, and I always love those, and this was no different. I did really enjoy it. But I'm not going to reread this one again, that's for sure. I have a lot more translated novels that are similar that I find much more pleasure in reading and would rather reread over this one. So this one's going to go, but it was a really good book. I can't say I don't recommend it. I just simply will not need the book again. Next, we have The Bone Season by Samantha Shannon. This is the 10th anniversary Forbidden Planet signed edition. And I have read The Bone Season before the rewrite, and I didn't really like it, to be honest. Why is my TV making me orange? Can we not do that? Hello? A remote would be nice. Oh, of course it's over there. That's better. I'm not orange anymore. And I enjoyed it. I think I gave it a 3. I wasn't going to continue the series, and then the rewrites happened, and I thought, that's something I can get on board with because the story was great, the writing was not. However, this edition sells for, honestly, it's about £150 online, and I would rather have 100 smackaroos in my hand than have this book in my hand. So if someone will buy it for even remotely close to £100, I will give it to them and take my almost £100 far away and happily not read this book again. To be honest with you, going to be completely transparent there. It's gorgeous, it's stunning, but I haven't read it. I've had it for about 2 years. I don't think I'll ever read it again realistically, or if I did, I certainly don't need this fancy special edition that someone else, an actual fan of the series, could have and love. So this is going. Next on the chopping block, we have Brutal Prince by Sophie Lark. Now I'm going to be completely honest here and say I'm not up to date on the controversies of this situation. I watched a breakdown video on TikTok that explained more than enough that I was happy to dispose of my copy of this. I'm upset. I really wanted to read it, and it sounds very much my cup of tea, and the cover is gorgeous, and there's delightful illustrations in here. However, upon hearing of the quote in her new book, and I have seen her apology on Instagram, but then there were some things on the Facebook group that the person in the breakdown talked about, and I don't feel she's truly sorry. So unfortunately, I do not want this on my shelves. It's okay if your opinion is different in this matter to mine. You can keep your copies, but I ain't keeping mine. So I'm passing this book along, and I'm very upset about it because I really wanted to read this one. Next, we have the heaviest graphic novel I've ever held in my hands, If You'll Have Me by Uni. This is a LGBTQIA+ graphic novel. It is gorgeous. It has purple sprayed edges. I loved this. I think I gave it a 4 stars. It was a wonderful, happy time. And I honestly reread graphic novels all the time. So there's probably a chance I'd reread this one. But the graphic novels have outgrown their space to the point where Heartstopper's sitting on top of Wayward Children series, which isn't ideal. So whilst I am making space, I just thought, let's keep the graphic novels I want to reread, which is Heartstopper and Sheets and Cryptid Club. This is a really cute edition. It's a really cool graphic novel. Someone's going to eat this up like I did the first time I read it. It's also the heaviest thing ever, and it's actually hurting my back. Like, genuinely, deadly seriously. It's heavier than that 800-page Bone Season. My back hurts. Whew. I need to drink this coffee because I'm dying of a caffeine withdrawal. Why couldn't I have had a hobby holding something lighter and easier to hold, like cards? Why did it have to be heavy books? Next we have Wilder Girls by Rory Power. This is the Barnes & Noble edition hardcover. I will one day reread this story for sure. I absolutely loved my first read of it, and that was before I was into weird and wacky books. So the thought of reading this weird and wacky book now does still intrigue me very, very much so. I just don't think I need the physical. Like, if I'm ever going to reread this, I'm going to read it on Kindle, which I already own. So there's just no need for me to keep this on my shelves. This is a really cool edition. But I've read the deleted scene from the back, so I've gotten everything I need to get out of it. And yeah, it was a really good time. If you are into YA, weird, wacky, dystopian novels, this one's brilliant. Set in an island where a bunch of girls start to lose, or started to form, their bodies started to form into other things. Like there's a crocodile woman and stuff. It's very peculiar, very strange, very intriguing and fascinating. Couldn't recommend enough, but I just don't need a physical copy when I have my ebook that I will probably choose to read over this anyway. Next we have Nectar of the Wicked by Ella Fields. This is where I became very harsh. You can see my special edition shelf. This was full. Then I unhauled it and it became half full. Then I filled it and now I've unhauled it again. It is half full. I have got to be more strict with myself. I have cancelled all of my subscription box except for Evernight, which I still love and adore, and will keep getting. And it's only every 3 months, so it's not that bad. This, no, I don't need it. I don't want it. Like, I keep it because there's mushrooms on the spine, and I keep it because the synopsis does sound interesting. Like, truly it does. And it's beautiful. It's so beautiful. But I'm not going to read this anytime soon, and as I've said, my tastes are changing and switching. I am much more of a literary fiction girly than I was, and my romance TBR is already 4 shelves long, and I'm not even picking up romance. So why would I pick this up when I have romance, I have fantasy romance, I have everything I actually want to read that I'm still not reading? So one that I just own because it was kind of pushed upon me with no choice because I didn't know what the book was. It's just not for me, and that's okay. So I'm hoping somebody who actually wants to read this book can read it instead of me. Then we had a moment of self-awareness. Brooke grew. I hit 25 2 years ago now, and my frontal lobe developed, and it's just taken a little while to kick in, but it's finally kicked in at almost 27. I do not like Tessa Bailey. I have liked 2 Tessa Bailey books in my entire life, and that was It Happened One Summer duology. Those are the only books that I've liked from Tessa Bailey, and I have read almost all of them, let me tell you. I have tried. These are the 4 remaining ones that have sat on my shelves for so long, and I don't know why I keep buying them, but I do, and I am finally getting rid of them. First of all, we have Secretly Yours and Unfortunately Yours, which are part of the same series. Unfortunately Yours is signed, which is pretty cool, but again, I'm not going to read these books. It's not going to happen. My romance TBR is banging. It does not need books I don't actually want on it. So these are going to go. Along with The Au Pair, which is the second book in a different series. Don't know why I did that. And then finally we have Wreck the Halls. This is also signed. Oh, that's not where it's signed. That's where it's signed. The thing is, I would love to be a Christmas romance girly, but we get to Christmas, it comes, it goes, and I go, oh my god, I didn't read my Christmas romances. There's always next year, and we repeat the process the next year. It's really not worth partaking in this process anymore, so I'm no longer going to do Christmas romances. It's not happening. If you catch me buying a Christmas romance book, throw a brick at my head, okay? So, bye-bye is the short answer to that. Thought I was finished with the coffee. I was not. I'm feeling in a weird mood. I have a headache and a caffeine withdrawal, which is therefore giving me weird chaotic energy. I apologise if it's coming through in the video. I'm pretty sure it's coming through in the video. Next, we just have a similar vein to everything I've already talked about. and that is I don't want to read them. So we have Filthy Rich Vampires and Filthy Rich Vampires The Second Right, the first 2 books in the Filthy Rich Vampires series. What a concept. What to say? I'm sure they're great, and I'm sure they're a fun, easy time. My TBR is almost 100 books long. It was over 100 books long before this unhaul. It's ridiculous. It's not even the books I want to read. I have no literary fiction books to read. And the only thing I want to read is literary fiction. But I've run out of those and I can't buy more because my TBR is the size of Texas. So instead, we're going to unhaul the books I don't want to read so I can buy new books that I actually want to read. Yeah, there's definitely a weird chaotic energy in this video. Sorry. I'm sure they're great, but they ain't for me. So we're just going to pass them on. Next we have Tomorrow and Tomorrow and Tomorrow by Gabrielle Zevin. This is a great book. I had a wonderful time with this book. It was 4 stars. It's soul crushing and destroying. I don't feel I will ever want to reread this story again. I remember a lot about it, and Sadie and Sam, I think are their names. Is it Sam? I'm not sure. Yeah. I really enjoyed them as characters. I really enjoyed following their story, but I will never do that to myself again. So this does not need to stay on my shelves, no matter how beautiful it is, because it is gorgeous. It doesn't need to stay on my shelves, so we're going to pass it along. And yeah, it's a shame because it's so beautiful. But again, I'm not keeping books I'm not going to reread. Next, I have one I never thought I'd get rid of. And let me tell you, if I wasn't broke, I wouldn't get rid of it. But I am broke, so we're getting rid of it. And that is the Love Light Farm series by B.K. Borison, the Afterlight Illumicrate editions. When these books popped up, I said to myself, these are the most beautiful books I have ever seen in my entire life, because under the dust jacket are the genuinely most beautiful hardbacks I have ever seen on God's green earth. Like, look at this. This is my favourite one. Oh, it's so beautiful. Stunning. But I owned the paperbacks before I owned these, and I read the paperbacks. And I like them. I think I give them all 3.5s. Like, they were not my favourite romances of all time. And if they had not been this beautiful, they would not have been purchased. But they are beautiful. Next, we have an absolutely devastating one. And that is An Academy for Liars by Alexis Henderson. I recall telling you recently about how this was one of my most anticipated books to read. I could not wait. So high up on my TBR. I physically couldn't hold in my excitement. I got 150 pages in before I DNF'd this, and I am distraught about it. It's not for me. I hated The Year of the Witching by Alexis Henderson. I DNF'd that. It put me in about a 6-month-long slump. It was not good. But then I read House of Hunger and I fell in love. I was obsessed. It was one of the best books ever. So I thought I had good, strong hopes for this. No, I know I didn't get very far, but this was boring and weird. And not in the good weird way, in the very weird way. Like, one minute we're getting initiated into a party and the next minute she's got her face pressed up against a moss wall doing the deed. And I was like, huh? Why is this happening? What's going on? Very confused, very peculiar, very weird. Not for me. Next we have Welcome to the, forgive me, Huan Dong Bookshop. I read this in the summer last year, like it's in 2023, I think, not 2024. And it was a wonderful time. Like, I really enjoyed this book. I definitely recommend this to everyone, and it was such a gorgeous time. But when I think about rereading this, I think about a lot of other books on my translated Japanese shelf, way more than this, like Before the Coffee Gets Cold or The Convenience Store by the Sea. I would much rather read those over this one. And like the Welcome to the Murasaki Bookshop or Days at the Murasaki Bookshop, it has very similar vibes. I would choose to read that over this in a reread. So I don't feel the need to hold on to this no matter how absolutely stunning it is. But I can't recommend it enough. It is not a bad book by any means. Okay, so the rest are all special editions. So this will be fun. We have Bonded by Thorns by Elizabeth Helen. Again, a gorgeous edition. And it does sound really interesting. It's about a reverse harem story. And I am definitely interested in reading this. Part of me is torn to get rid of it. I could be persuaded. I've put it up on my Vinted, so I'm kind of like, if it sells, I'll get rid of it. If it doesn't, I might take it back. But it's more the cover that doesn't do it for me. This is giving the Fairy Loot editions of Blood and Ash. That's the one. And I didn't like those covers either. That's why I ended up getting rid of the series. and it's just giving me the same vibes and I don't like it. That's why I'm not attached to this edition, even though I do want to read the book. I think I own it on Kindle from when it was from when it was self-published. So I don't feel the desire or the hold to keep this on my shelves. I am sad about it because I do kind of want to read the story, but I don't need this edition. So again, it's kind of like if it goes, it goes. If it doesn't, it might come back. You might see it on the shelves. Who knows? Next we have Sorcery and Small Magics by Maiga Ducey. This sounds really cute and cozy, and I was like really tempted to keep it because I was like, I love a little cozy fantasy. But honestly, nothing draws me into this book. Nothing attracts me. I read the description and I'm like, meh, not really worth my time. If I'm not pulled in by just the description, how am I going to be pulled in by the entire novel? I'm not sure. It's pretty. It's okay. I'm not obsessed with the edition anyway, so I don't really mind getting rid of this copy in particular. But yeah, when it comes to my cozy fantasies, I feel like I'm really, really picky these days because there's so many of them coming out. Everybody's really hopped on the trend of a cozy fantasy, and some of them just don't appeal to me, and this is one of them. I'm sure it's great. And if you think it's something that would be my cup of tea, let me know, but I'm not fussed on this copy anyway, so I'm gonna let this go. We have 2 more left. First is The Coven by Harper L. Woods. Now this is stunning. Oh my god, it's so pretty. But I got this back in October of 2024 and I was like, oh yeah, this is stunning. I want to read this straight away because this was on my Kindle from when it was self-published. And I'm pretty sure I still have that copy. Unless it gets taken away from me when it's actually traditionally published, I'm not entirely sure. I do really want to read this. This sounds really, really good, but I am not in my fantasy era. I'm not in my fantasy era at all. I've suddenly just dropped way out of it. I don't want to read it. Or if I do, I want to read a political, high-stakes fantasy or a cutesy, cozy fantasy. I don't want to read this kind of fantasy romance at the moment, which is very unlike me, I know. But I feel so much pressure when they're on my shelves. And I'm just now getting out of almost a year-long slump. I am struggling to keep the reading vibes going. Things like this are demotivating as heck, and I refuse to do it. So this is going to go. Again, it's gorgeous. I don't even think I like this cover. Like, I think I like the original cover vibes. I know I can turn this around and have the original cover, but I think this is so much prettier. So much more vibey. But yeah, I'm just not going to keep this, I don't think. And then the final one is Long Live Evil by Sarah Rees Brennan. I've hated this cover since the day it arrived. It's the same on the traditional cover. It's just purple. I hate it. I hate the spine or the sprayed edges. Well, I don't hate the sprayed edges. I kind of like it. I don't like the art style. There's nothing I like about this book. I'm going to be completely honest. So I don't want this edition on my shelves, even though the synopsis sounds interesting. However, I don't think the synopsis sounds good enough for me to go and pick up a regular edition of this anyway. This is also really heavy. It must be really thick. It's only 450 pages. But yeah, it doesn't appeal to me enough. It's not the kind of fantasy I'm wanting right now, if any fantasy at all. So again, it's just not staying around. What can I say? I was being really ruthless this day, and there's probably more I could still get rid of. But for now, this'll do. So those are the 25 plus perhaps books that I'm getting rid of. Thank you so much for watching this video and being interested in what it is I'm getting rid of. Let me know down below your thoughts and feelings on these books, or if you have no thoughts and feelings on these books, let me know if you unhaul your books, and if you do, how regularly you do it, because I feel like I'm doing it all the time. It just makes me feel very free. But yeah, thank you so much for watching, and I shall see you in the next one. Bye!